Hello everyone, my name is Jane, and on behalf of the Colorado Department of Revenue, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this walkthrough video on how to file a retroactive SALT Parity Act election. You can pause and replay this video at any time to review the information provided. Let's go ahead and get started. The examples presented in this video involve fictional taxpayers and are provided for illustration purposes only. In order to file a retroactive SALT Parity Act election, your partnership or S corporation will need to log in to your Revenue Online account. To access your Revenue Online account, you can start on our website at Tax.Colorado.gov. Select Online Services in the top menu bar, and then select Visit ROL from the Revenue Online menu panel. You can also go directly to Colorado.gov/Revenue Online. Once you arrive on the Revenue Online homepage, enter your username and password and select Log In. If prompted, enter the security code sent to you for the multi-factor authentication security measure. If you are on a trusted device, you can select the box next to Trust this device to reduce the number of times that you are asked to enter this security code. Once you have entered your code, select Confirm. On your account landing page, you may see an option to file a SALT Parity Act election in the top menu panel, since this box will show the action with the next upcoming due date. However, the most reliable method of locating the SALT Parity Act election is to select the link File or Amend and View Returns or Payments in the Account menu tile. The next page will show all of the returns available for the account. This is very important information since you can only file a retroactive SALT Parity Act election for 2018 through 2021 if the tax return for each year was already filed. You can tell that a return was filed because the Actions to be Taken column will show View or Amend Return instead of File Now. In this example, we see that we have returns filed in 2018 and 2019, but no return filed in 2020 and 2021, which means that we can only file the SALT Parity Act election for 2018 and 2019. If we need to include tax years 2020 and 2021, we would need to file those returns first, and then, once those returns have been fully processed, return to Revenue Online to submit our combined composite retroactive SALT Parity Act election for all tax years from 2018 through 2021. For our example, we are only filing the retroactive SALT Parity Act election for tax years 2018 and 2019. When we are ready to begin our composite retroactive SALT Parity Act election, we can select the link File Now next to the retroactive SALT Parity Act return for December 31st of 2023, which is the date that will show for the retroactive SALT Parity Act election for 2018 through 2021. On the next page, we'll see the purpose, eligibility requirements, and information necessary for filing the retroactive SALT Parity Act election. Please review this information before proceeding. We also have a link to the complete instructions for filing this retroactive composite amended return in the upper right-hand corner of the box titled Information needed to continue. Once we are certain that we want to file this composite return, we are eligible, and we have the information required, select Next at the bottom of the screen. On the page titled Add Partnership Member, we have the option to upload a completed spreadsheet or to add a member directly via data entry. For this example, let's select the hyperlink for Add a Partnership Member. On the next page, begin entering the information requested line by line. For this example, we'll select tax year 2018. We'll add the account type next. Please be advised that the account type for filing the Retroactive SALT Parity Act election is based on the type of Colorado income tax return that the partner or member files. For any entity that files a DR 106 with the state of Colorado, please select Partnership for the account type. For our example, we'll choose Partnership from the drop-down menu for the account type. For business type in this example, we'll also choose Partnership from the drop-down menu. Next, we'll enter the member's name, select the ID type, FEIN in this case. We will then enter their ID number. Next, we'll list their complete address. Please note that data validation does occur on Revenue Online for addresses within the United States. Some fields may no longer be required for addresses outside of the U.S. Then we scroll down to the next section. When selecting resident or non-resident, please make sure that the selection matches what was originally filed on the return. We know that many things may have changed since the original returns were filed, but this is another validation measure, so please choose what was included on your previously processed return. As you'll notice here, selecting resident does not require additional selections, but if the member is a non-resident, you will need to select their filing method from the previous return, whether that was composite, DR 0107 included, or DR 0108 filed. For our example, the member is a resident. For completing the section titled Partners or Shareholders' Share of Income and Other Items, it may be helpful to complete a mock-up of a DR 0106K using the current year's form, but the information for the year in question. You can obtain most of the required information from the DR 1715 Partner or Shareholder Declaration for Qualified Business Income Deduction add-back required for a retroactive SALT Parity Act election, which is available on the Colorado Department of Revenue's SALT Parity Act webpage, Tax.Colorado.gov /SALT-Parity-Act-Election. You can also obtain this information from a federal K-1 for the member. In case you need it, there is also a link on this page to the complete instructions. Just scroll back to the top of the page and select Instructions. That link will pull up a PDF of the complete instructions for the retroactive SALT Parity Act election. For our demonstration, we've gone ahead and entered our information into this example. Once our information is entered, we can select Add at the bottom of the page. Now we can see that we have our first member added. If you want to use the manual data entry option, you would repeat that process until each member is added. Now, let's say that we want to use a spreadsheet upload. Please be advised that the spreadsheet will overwrite any information already entered into the system. So this member that we just added will go away and will be overwritten with information in the spreadsheet when we upload it. To upload a spreadsheet, we'll select the Upload option. We'll have a pop-up appear to allow us to choose which file to upload. Our folder options defaulted to the folder where we have the file saved. Once you have located your file, select it and then select Open. Once you see your file in the Import box, select OK. As we can see, our balance at the top has been updated for our pass-through entity. And if we scroll down, we see that each of our members' information has been imported. Again, anything we had manually entered previously has now been overwritten by the spreadsheet upload. However, we do see this little red exclamation point next to one of our members. And this means that we have an error or errors on this member's information, and we need to correct that information before proceeding. If you have a long list of members, you can select Show Errors in the top right of the Partnership Members list to see all of the member entries with errors. Then, to correct a member's information, click on the exclamation point. On the member's entry, the first thing we see is the year. In our spreadsheet, we had typed in 2020 by accident, but we are only filing a SALT Parity Act election for 2018 and 2019, so we have an error here. Going back to our information, we verified that the member was intending to file for 2019, but that was entered incorrectly on our spreadsheet. So we'll correct the year to 2019. Then, as we scroll down, we see several other errors. The overall QBI add back cannot be negative and must be positive. Some items included here can be negative, while others can only be positive. For example, federal and Colorado subtractions must be negative, but interest and dividends and royalties cannot be negative. Some, like net capital gain or loss, can be either, depending on whether there was a gain, positive, or a loss, negative. This image shows an example of which items cannot be negative and which ones must be negative. Returning to our members' information, if we go through each of these errors line by line, we will see the specific error listed and we can adjust the entry appropriately. Once you have corrected all the errors, you can select OK at the bottom of the screen to move forward. On the next page, we see that we have no errors remaining, so we can come back up and select Show All to return to our member list. Since we have no errors in the spreadsheet data remaining, we can select Next. At this point, the system will run some validation checks. And as we can see from this pop-up, we have some items that were not able to be validated in the system. We'll select OK on the pop-up, and then we'll go through again, member by member and line by line, to correct the errors. So we'll select the exclamation point next to our first member with an error. Scroll down, and we'll see that there aren't any errors in this data. It just couldn't be validated. So we'll select the checkbox next to the statement, I acknowledge that the information above for this partner or shareholder is correct. Then select OK to return. Our next error is due to the fact that an LLC typically does not file a corporate income tax return for the state of Colorado. If your LLC is structured and taxed as a corporation, please select Corporate Income Tax as the account type and select the business type based on the election chosen for the entity. If you are not sure which account and entity type should be reported for the partner or member, please contact the partner or member to verify how they have filed their income tax returns with the state of Colorado. In this example, this member needed to be a partnership, not a C corporation. So we just update the account type, scroll down to make sure there are no other errors, and then select OK. Back on the partnership members list, we can now select Next to move forward in the composite return. On the next page, we are asked if we would like to make the payment on behalf of the pass-through entity. If you select No, you will get a pop-up to verify and confirm that you do not want to make the payment at this time. The benefit to making the payment when filing the return is that the information is pre-populated into the payment, which reduces the risk of error. For our example, we do want to make our payment. So, instead of selecting Next to continue, we'll change our answer to Yes. We'll enter our bank account information and then here is where that pre-population occurred. The payment type and amount were imported from the information we just entered. If you are returning later to make the payment, you will need to make sure that the payment type you select is the retroactive SALT election payment. You will have these other options for payment types, and if you select any other option, your members and partners will not get their credit. Once we've entered our information, we'll select Next. On the summary screen, we can review our information, read each statement, and select each box to agree to the statements. When you select Submit, you will get a pop-up asking for your password. Your password acts as your electronic signature on the election, so we'll type in our password and then select OK. On the confirmation screen, we cannot emphasize this enough. Please keep this page. Print the page, take a screenshot of the page, print it and take a screenshot of it. Please keep a copy of this. You can also choose the Printable View option to print a copy of the return you just filed. Once you select OK, you will be sent back to your main returns screen for your account. And as we can see here, our retroactive SALT Parity Act composite return is now pending. We can select View Request to view our return, but it is only pending at this point. Once the return and payment have posted to the account, we will then see Processing, as well as the option to View Request. If we select View Request while our return is in either pending or processing status, we will notice that neither has the option to amend the return, which can be seen in the top right of this page. We only have the options to print a copy of our return or to print payment coupon. By selecting the option to print payment coupon, a PDF will open of a tax payment voucher. You can print this voucher and mail it with your accompanying payment by check or money order to the address listed on the voucher itself. This option for printing the payment coupon or voucher is only available from the return screen after selecting View Request. If you want to make a payment by another means after filing your return, you can select the logo in the top left of the screen to return to your account homepage. From there, you can select Make a Payment. Please be advised that you must be logged in to have the option to make a retroactive SALT Parity election payment. There is a 30-day hold on these returns before they will be processed. But once that 30-day period has passed, if you select File or Amend and View Returns or Payments, you will now see that the return shows as received, and you have the option to view or amend the return. We have now filed our combined composite retroactive SALT Parity Act election. We have a variety of resources and tools available for you if you have questions or need assistance. The Colorado Department of Revenue aims to make complex tax information easier to understand to enable accurate and on-time tax filings. My name is Jane, and on behalf of the Colorado Department of Revenue, Taxation Division, Education and Training, thank you for watching this video. The Colorado Department of Revenue is always here to help you be voluntarily tax compliant through education, assistance, and customer service.